Some betrayals cut deeper because they come from the people who should protect you most. My name is Nathan Brennan. I'm 38 years old, and this is the story of how my sister tried to steal our father's legacy and how a judge saw through every lie. My dad, Frank Brennan, died 6 months ago at 72, heart attack in his woodshop, quick and unexpected. He was a Vietnam vet, a carpenter who'd built half the houses in our small Oregon town. He wasn't rich, but he'd saved, carefully paid off his house, had some retirement accounts, owned a small piece of land by the river where he'd always dreamed of building a cabin. I'm a firefighter. I live paycheck to paycheck, raising my 10-year-old son Tyler after my divorce 3 years ago. Dad helped me more than I could ever repay babysitting Tyler, fixing things around my rental house, just being there. My sister Rebecca is different. She's 41, a corporate lawyer in Portland, married to another lawyer, living in a house that costs more than I'll earn in my lifetime. She'd barely visited Dad in the last 5 years. Too busy, she'd say too important. When Dad died, Rebecca took charge immediately. She arranged the funeral, contacted the lawyer, gathered the paperwork. I was grieving, overwhelmed with single parenthood and work, so I let her handle it. I trusted her. That was my mistake. 2 weeks after the funeral, Rebecca called me. Nathan, we need to talk about Dad's estate. Can you come to my office? I drove to Portland 2 hours each way, taking a day off work I couldn't afford. Her office was all glass and steel, overlooking the city. She sat behind a massive desk in a suit that probably cost more than my monthly salary. So, I've reviewed Dad's assets, she said, sliding papers across the desk. The house is worth about $400,000. The land by the river, another $200,000. Retirement accounts, life insurance, savings about $300,000 total. Roughly $900,000 in total assets. I felt dizzy. I'd known Dad was careful with money, but I hadn't realized how much he'd saved. Here's the thing, Rebecca continued. The estate is complicated. Taxes, debts, legal fees. It would be much simpler if one person had full control to manage everything. I'm proposing that I take over as sole executor and trustee. But Dad's will is outdated. He wrote it 15 years ago. Things have changed. I've drafted new paperwork that reflects current reality. You'd still inherit, of course. I just manage the liquidation and distribution. She pushed more papers toward me. I need you to sign these. They give me full authority to handle the estate without court oversight. It's standard procedure. Trust me, I'm a lawyer. Something felt wrong. But Rebecca was staring at me with that look she'd perfected growing up, the one that said I was too stupid to understand complicated things. Can I have a copy to review? I asked. Nathan, do you trust me or not? I'm trying to help. If we don't file this within 30 days, we'll lose favorable tax status. Just sign. Against my better judgment, against every instinct screaming at me, I signed. Because she was my sister. Because she was the smart one. Because I've been taught my whole life to defer to her expertise. 3 months passed. I called Rebecca weekly asking for updates. She was always too busy to talk, promising she'd send paperwork soon. Finally, I got a check in the mail. $50,000. A note said, "Your inheritance from Dad's estate. All taxes and fees have been paid. Estate is now closed. $50,000 from a $900,000 estate." I called Rebecca immediately. There must be a mistake. You said the estate was worth $900,000. Nathan, you don't understand estate law. There were significant debts you didn't know about. Dad owed back taxes, had outstanding medical bills. Legal fees were substantial. After everything was settled, $50,000 was your share. But you got $50,000 too, right? A pause. The executor receives additional compensation for managing the estate. That's standard. Plus, Dad had left specific instructions about certain assets going to me. What instructions? Can I see the will? The will is part of closed legal proceedings. You got your inheritance. Be grateful. Something in her voice dismissive. Final made me realize I'd been played. I used $1,000 I couldn't spare to consult with a lawyer in my town. His name was Bill Harris, older guy who'd known my dad. I brought him everything I had, the papers Rebecca had given me, the check, copies of documents I'd managed to get. Bill read through everything, his expression darkening. Finally, he looked up. Nathan, I think your sister committed fraud. This paperwork you signed gave her complete control with no oversight. She could have done anything. And I don't believe your father had debts anywhere near what she's claiming. Can we fight it? We can. But it'll mean going to court, challenging your sister legally. It won't be cheap or easy. I thought about my son, about the money Dad had saved hoping to leave us something better. Do it, whatever it takes. The court date was set for 3 months later. Rebecca was furious when she got served. She called me, screaming, "You're suing your own sister? Over money? Dad would be ashamed of you." Dad would be ashamed of someone stealing from their brother, I said quietly. I want a full accounting of the estate. That's all. You'll lose. I have the best lawyers in Portland. You have some small-town hack. The courtroom was small, wood-paneled, nothing like TV. Judge Morrison presided -60-something, stern but with kind eyes. Rebecca sat with 2 lawyers in expensive suits. I sat with Bill. Bill presented our case. He'd done incredible work, pulling county records, bank statements, tax documents. He showed that Dad's house had sold for $420,000. The land had sold for $230,000. Dad's retirement accounts totaled $315,000. That's $965,000 in assets, Bill said. Nathan received $50,000. Where's the other $915,000? Rebecca's lawyer stood. Your Honor, there were substantial debts and fees. We have documentation. He presented papers showing medical bills, property taxes, legal fees, estate management costs. According to his accounting, the debts and fees totaled $800,000. Judge Morrison studied the papers, frowning. $800,000 in fees and debts? That seems excessive. Estate management is complex, Your Honor, Rebecca's lawyer said smoothly. Then Bill stood again. Your Honor, I'd like to present evidence that many of these claimed debts are fabricated. He showed medical records proving Dot's veterans benefits had covered most medical costs. Tax records showing Dad was current on all property taxes. And most damning bank records showing that Rebecca had transferred $650,000 from the estate accounts into her personal accounts. The courtroom went silent. Miss Brennan, Judge Morrison said, his voice ice. Can you explain these transfers? Rebecca stood composed. Those were legitimate executor fees and reimbursements for costs I incurred managing the estate. $650,000 in fees? The judge's disbelief was clear. For managing an estate that took 4 months to settle? It was complex. Miss Brennan, you're an attorney. You know that executor fees are typically 2 to 5% of estate value. You're claiming over 60%. That's not fees. That's theft, Rebecca's composure cracked. My brother signed paperwork giving me full authority. Paperwork you pressured him to sign without proper counsel, Judge Morrison interrupted. Paperwork that wasn't properly filed with this court. Paperwork that essentially stripped him of his inheritance rights while hiding your intentions. He looked at me. Mr. Brennan, did your sister tell you she was planning to take the majority of your father's estate for herself? No, Your Honor. She said it was just to simplify management. That I'd get my inheritance. Judge Morrison turned back to Rebecca. Miss Brennan, I'm finding that you breached your fiduciary duty as executor. You engaged in self-dealing and fraud. I'm ordering you to return all improperly taken funds to the estate immediately. Furthermore, I'm referring this matter to the State Bar Association for disciplinary proceedings. Rebecca's face went white. Your Honor, my legal career should have been considered before you defrauded your own brother, the judge said coldly. This court orders that the estate be divided equally between Nathan and Rebecca Brennan after legitimate expenses. Based on the evidence that amounts to approximately $450,000 each. You have 30 days to transfer the funds. He banged his gavel. We're adjourned. Rebecca and her lawyers rushed out. She wouldn't look at me. In the hallway, she finally turned. You've destroyed me. The Bar Association will investigate. I could lose my license. Are you happy? You stole from me, I said quietly. You stole from your own brother. You used Dad's death to enrich yourself. How did you think that would end? I deserved it more, she said, and there it was, the truth she'd been hiding. I'm successful. I have an important career. You're just a firefighter. What were you going to do with that money? Pay rent? I have investments, opportunities. I could have grown that money into something significant. It wasn't yours to take. She left without another word. I haven't spoken to her since. The $450,000 changed my life. I paid off debt, bought a small house for Tyler and me, set up a college fund. But more than the money, I got validation. Proof that I wasn't crazy, that I'd been right to trust my instincts. My name is Nathan Brennan. I am a firefighter who almost let his lawyer sister steal his inheritance because I'd been taught my whole life that I wasn't smart enough to question her. But I learned that intelligence isn't about degrees or job titles. It's about integrity. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stand up to family when they're wrong. My sister tried to take full control of Dad's estate, confident I'd never fight back. But she underestimated 2 things: how much I loved my father, and how clearly a good judge can see through lies. Dad spent his life building things with his hands, saving carefully, hoping to leave his kids something better. My sister saw that as an opportunity. I saw it as a sacred trust, and in the end, the truth came out. It always does. You just have to be brave enough to demand it.